Hey there guys, today we're taking a look at Hogwarts Legacy running on the Ryzen 5 5560U. Now this has been running on the Beelink SER5 mini PC. Now we are running the game with the lowest in-game graphics settings, and we do have FSR set to balanced. And overall the performance while we're roaming around the school can be pretty rough. In particular, there are a lot of drops in the 1% lows. As you can tell by the frame times, things will be consistent, and then there will be these spikes that happen pretty regularly. In general, also while you're transitioning between different areas of the map, there will be a noticeable spike in the overall frame times, in particular because as things are getting loaded in, the performance will end up dropping. There will be a lot of sections where the game actually feels pretty alright to play, but in general, this consistent stutter that ends up happening can make the whole experience of actually trying to play the game pretty rough. And it is a shame because there will be certain sections of the game itself where the performance is really rock solid and it actually feels really nice to play and you can have a lot of fun. But then you end up in these weird situations where everything ends up dropping like crazy, but when the game feels great, it feels really great to play. But it's really in very select, limited sections where there's a lot less going on. So it's really a lot more like you're playing in dungeons and things like that. But in sections like that, it does feel extremely nice to play. But anytime you're in the major exterior areas, like walking around the town, or if you're in the school itself, roaming around the campus, the 1% lows really drag down the whole experience. The averages were usually around a range where it was pretty acceptable. You're just a little bit under 30 FPS. The 1% lows were very close to those averages. You could pretty much make an argument for playing the game like this, but it's the fact that our 1% lows are in the teens pretty consistently. It just made the whole experience really rough. I think that a lot of people are really going to struggle to find this to be enjoyable on this particular system. Certainly, if you are one of the more desperate people to play this game, you could probably get away with it. I've mentioned this a lot before, but I grew up playing games at pretty much worse conditions than this and had a blast. But we do just live in a different time where you can get away with playing free-to-play games that are just incredible out there for free. There is no reason to really subject yourself to something like this when there's so much content out there you can consume. And I did also try setting FSR all the way down to the performance preset, which really does a lot in terms of just destroying the image. In particular, anytime you get into any cutscenes or anything like that, you'll realize that people's faces are almost like potato quality. And in general, there wasn't really any major uplift in terms of performance. Our 1% lows only really saw a couple of FPS difference, which really just meant that in general, it was not exactly the greatest gaming experience. Now, if you look at the frame time charts in general, they are just better in general with FSR set to performance, but our 1% lows still were really difficult to find wholeheartedly acceptable. So it is a judgment call at this point for you whether you want to actually deal with this inconsistent level of performance and also have to use FSR at the performance preset. Now you can also lower the resolution even further and use FSR on top of that, but FSR at full 1080p with the performance preset already does a lot to damage the visual quality. I really don't know why you would want to lower the resolution that much and use FSR on top of it, because at that point you're really just pushing the limits of what FSR is even really capable of doing. You're going to get a really rough image, and in general I just don't really see the point in playing the game like that. In general, it seems like of the APU systems that I have, the 5600H is the best experience, and you can actually realistically make an argument that you can play the game like that, because at least then you can use the FSR balance preset and get really decent performance. But the 5500U and the 5560U really seem to be struggling in this game, which makes sense. The 5560U, although it does have Zen 3 cores, is only rocking a Radeon 6, so we are missing the 1 GPU core, and we do have 200 megahertz less clock speed on the GPU itself. And this does translate to a meaningful drop in terms of performance. And of course, the 5500U, well, we're talking about Zen 2 cores here. It really does seem like the power requirements of those Zen 2 cores in comparison to Zen 3 really limit what the CPU can actually end up doing. So I would say that if you have this particular chip, I would recommend skipping the game, but really it is your judgment call on whether or not you're willing to deal with these 1% lows. It's certainly not an unplayable experience, it's just less than ideal. And if you're looking to actually get a system, I would recommend that instead of getting the version of this mini PC with the 5560U, you go with the the 5600H. It's going to give you an all-around better result, and the performance uplift in the vast majority of games I think is going to be overall worthwhile. There's certainly still merit to getting the version with the 5560U. In particular, if you check out the temperatures that we're getting in this in comparison to the version with the 5600H, there is a pretty drastic difference. So if you're in a climate that just does not have air conditioning, or just your ambient temperatures are ridiculously high, this is all around going to be better for you. Though now that they do have a version with the 5500U of this mini PC to replace this particular model, that might be overall better for you to get. The improved iGPU of having a Radeon 7 I think is overall going to be more worthwhile for you. But anyways, I will catch you guys in the next one.